At one point, the chief resident came in. Chief resident, this is a teaching hospital, so there were OBGYN residents involved in the care. And the chief resident, which means they're in their 5th year, so they're like, have been in 5 years of deliveries, and they're every bit, I mean, you're a doctor the minute you are a resident, you have already graduated medical school. And so she came in and had wanted to check me. And I was not excited about getting back in the bed because I was standing up, I was in a flow, I was laboring. Like I said, I've been the medicine ball, but I was in my flow standing up. Just breathing in these breathing in and breathing through and riding the waves of the intensity. Nalu, as Chord's middle name, is wave, Hawaiian for wave. And I had also just I had written a book 5 years earlier, and the main character is Nalu, and I'll get into that in another episode, another talk story. But she had come in and asked to check me, and I kind of like grudgingly obliged. I got in bed. This time, because getting in bed just did not feel honoring for me. It just felt very passive in a moment when I was trusting my body to do something, of heroic superhero feat. So they checked me, and she's like, "Oh, good, you're progressing." I'm like, I know I was progressing. I was about maybe 9 centimeters, or somewhere around that at the time. And so continued to labor. And then at some point, the chief resident, and she's a physician, so I'm saying chief resident, but OBGYN doctor, I want that clear in every respect, who is brilliant and amazing and on her way to having like an incredible career, came back in. And at this point I said, "You're not going to check me because I'm 10 centimeters dilated. Like, we're pushing." I said it with such, JD was like so floored. He said, "You said it with such clarity, such finality, such, knowing," which I did. I know my body, and it was like we were transitioning. I could feel it. And JD said she took her gloves off so quickly and got the attending OBGYN, who was upstairs doing notes, because I think once she had heard how far along I was progressing, that I was a 3rd-time mom, like she wasn't going very far, knowing that it could be more imminent. So she came down. I remember them kind of getting things ready. And I climbed on the bed on all fours, kind of cat-cow position. Again, I did a lot of yoga during my pregnancy, and this was intuitively the position that I remember JD saying, "Okay, we're doing this," like, because my previous 2 deliveries I had been on my back, and I was like, we're doing this. Like, nobody was going to tell me that I wasn't going to be on my all fours. And so I climbed up onto that bed, and I also asked to be able to bring baby out. And I remember him being like, "How are you going to," I mean, not that he would ever doubt me. He is a very supportive king of a dude. But I was like, "No, I'll figure this out." Like, nobody, So I had asked to bring baby out, and I was on my all fours. I remember pushing and breathing through a bunch of contractions. I don't remember exactly how many pushes, but it was a while, maybe like 30 minutes of pushing, maybe 20. But I pushed that lady out, and Sophia, I wasn't going to say like all these names, but she's incredible. She walked in when I was 9 centimeters dilated. This is the photographer I connected with. So I met her when I was 9 plus centimeters dilated in full-on labor. So there was an acknowledgement of her presence, and she came in my divine glory, which I know she could recognize, and I'm grateful to that for this day. And so she captured it, the birth, the raw moments. I'm fully naked, on all fours, like reached down. I remember grabbing her and bringing her up, and just absolutely being so transformed that it was her the whole time, that of course it was her. She was sent here to offer me healing, to offer me this perspective, this grounding yet ascension, all at the same time, like this connection to the divine of what we are as females, and how much power and how much empathy and how much magnificence we hold. And so my hair was everywhere because I had a braid, but I took it out like I took it out when I was like about to push her. For whatever reason, my hair was everywhere, fluid open. I was just like in full primal power mode. And I pulled her up and I held her and I realized it was her. And in that moment, I was healed. I was whole, and I was purposeful, and I was powerful and inspired and believed in every ounce and every cell and every molecule that made me a mommy, made me a human, made me a chosen daughter of the King, that I was worthy of everything. And that feeling, I tap into it frequently. I return to it a lot. And yet it's so interesting that it's been 14 months and here I am telling the story. And I think, I was stimulating her because she wasn't really breathing as awesome as we would love for a newborn to breathe. I think they gave me a little extra time just being a pediatrician and having been in that situation. So I'm trying to stimulate her and obviously love on her, and just like overwhelmed with joy and gratitude. And I remember the bedside nurse like gently but firmly being like, okay, mom, and they took her and they ended up suctioning out like a good amount of amniotic fluid. She must have taken a pretty big gulp. And then after that, I heard her vigorously crying over there. But she came out, because my amniotic fluid had been full of vernix. She came out looking like, I remember the nurses commenting, did she get a bath? And she didn't have a bath. She just had literally like fully had a spa appointment, this lady. And come out looking like a freshly bathed baby. It like blew my mind. And they were all like, oh, she's a good size. And she weighed in at 8 pounds, 15 ounces. She was born at 7:03 p.m. on June 28th. She's a June girl. And Camden got the baby sister of her dreams, and Cruz got to be a big brother, and he's sandwiched between his fierce females. And of course it was her. And of course it was her all along that had been my workout buddy, that had been this growing, blooming force of healing, of power, of a reminder of all of the ways that I am a creative. I am a incubator of amazing ideas and amazing life and amazing life forces. And I still look at her and hold her and feed her and marvel at her in the same way that I pulled her up from my body. And I remember the moments after and that initial latch and breastfeeding as I was being sewn up for, I think I had a grade 2 tear, which was much better than my first two. I'll go into those too. And so was getting stitched up and just marveling at this beautiful being. And in the room was JD and Sophia, the photographer, and the medical staff, who were incredible. And just marveling at this beautiful birth that I got to have, and that I trusted my body, and that I tapped into the divine, and all of the ancestors that have gone before me. And with each contraction, I was able to stay in the moment, one at a time. Okay, this one's coming. Let's literally smile. I literally would feel it coming on, close my eyes, and breathe in with everything that I was, and receive the light that I felt and the divine that I felt, and also know that this was an opportunity to breathe through it, no matter the intensity, that we get to surf this wave together, and that it was one wave closer to this final party wave with this little lady, this little wahine. That was her. And the power's not lost on me. It's still landing, like, honestly, truly, what I did in that room that day, and how I think JD just seeing me in the all fours and the cat cow, and just the primal, the beast mode that was like on full display. And I am so proud of her. She had some like guttural, they weren't like overly dramatic, but like the sounds, I'm sure, during the actual pushing were pretty fascinating. And I showed up with every ounce of who I was, and I infused every ounce of energy and intention and love and focus in those moments. Everything else melted away, and I am so proud of myself for trusting, for being able to show up in such a way, and to own the trauma that had occurred, for me in the previous two births. I mean, again, all births are traumas in some respect, and there is a lot of triumph in trauma. And I want to speak that into the life and love of all the stories of all the mamas that I know and don't know, but hope to connect with in this way through Mama Tuition, through knowing that whatever it is that your story is that everything is working out for your highest good. And even through your trauma, you get to connect to the divine, because you are divine. You are chosen. And owning your trauma, really going back through it and reliving it and loving on yourself and going and dropping back into those moments in that room is your story. And so for me, this is a piece of it. And I'm going to continue to divinely download more and more and more of it for me, for my babies, and for whomever else it's meant to impact. And this is day one of like a day one mama mindset mentality that I want to have, where I get to every day one, recommit, re-show up for myself, for my babies, for mamas that I know I'm meant to connect with, and for all of us, in that we are storytellers, we are magnificent, we are worthy. And this lullaby that I made for Chord Nalu, her name means musical chord, like the third note in harmony, because she is our third, and it felt very right and fitting to have, the third note in harmony, and also knowing that three strands in a chord is not easily broken. And for all those reasons, and I just love the musicality of her name, and that it struck a chord in my soul. And Nalu for Hawaiian for wave. All three of our babies have Hawaiian middle names. We feel so blessed to raise them here and to get to care for the keiki in Hawaii, and what called us here to this aloha state and aloha spirit. And so her name being musical wave, I remember first saying it out loud to the nurses. Honestly, I said it somewhat apprehensively, because we never say it before, because I always believe in just speaking it into the actual human being who will carry this name throughout their life. And so I think it was just like such, and I honestly don't want to invite unwanted opinions around the name. Like I just know when I land upon it, and JD and I land upon it, that it feels sacred and it feels right and true and harmonious to us. And that symphony is really all I need to feel connected. And so I remember saying it out loud to the nurses, because they had asked me over there at the delivery room table. And I think I remember saying it somewhat apprehensively, because verbalizing it out loud, kind of like had been daydreaming it and writing it in different journals and stuff, felt so different. But like, yeah, saying it out loud. And then like each time I said it subsequently, it became a little stronger. And so Chord Nalu, she is here, and she came from me and JD, but I had the privilege and honor of growing her and knowing her internally, all of the ways that the internal gymnastics and the little workout buddy that she was, and the way that she was full living into mom life, teaching a kindergartner, homeschooling a kindergartner, and having a 2 and 3 year old brother. And she was grown mostly on Maui, but born on Oahu. So a little Maui princess. We called her an opihi, which is a little, like a little mollusk type of mussel thing that we have here in Hawaii. And they have a little shell, and they glob onto the side of rocks at the ocean shore. And as their lifespan continues, and as they have endured more and more treacherousness, I guess, of the ocean and of the tide, their shell actually starts to cone, because it's a sign of their resiliency as they've worked to stay stuck onto the rock with the waves and with the tides and with the pull of the ocean. They develop that cone-like shape, and so we called her our pihi, growing within me. And even when I had my 3D prenatal fun ultrasound, it was called the growing opihi, which was so cool, or 3D opihi. We also called her Cuckooinette, which actually we came to know that it means light. And she, to this day, loves to wear these Cuckooinette leis around the house. And yeah, she's our Maui Island princess. And she's still healing me. She's still inviting me into this type of magnificence where I'm sitting down and sharing and disclosing and showing up. So aloha to this part of sharing my birth story of Chord Nalu, and I'm going to see how it flows and how it goes, but I'm thinking about talking more into the immediate postpartum period tomorrow for day one again, which is tomorrow. Aloha.